So today on this Wednesday walkabout, I am getting ready to go out of town for a while. And yes, there will be people staying at my house, so don't worry about my sharing the news, because most of you do know that I'm going to be going to Scotland for a week. And I know, and I can't wait, because next week the temps are really going to be high, and I'll be thinking about all of you here in the States who are experiencing these same inordinately high temperatures in some places like Boston, Indianapolis, other areas as much as 25 degrees. Wow, over normal. So it will be very, very hot, so be safe. And we're supposed to get up into the middle to high 90s next week, though today for some reason it's just really nice and breezy. We've got cloud cover, it's not too hot. It's really nice. Though boy has it been windy, and we've got wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour today. So here is one of the things that I'm doing to prep for leaving town, and that is all of my topiary, or as many as can fit, are going to go in this tray. Because what I like to do is congregate all sorts of different plants so it makes easier for whomever is going to water for me to have them all in one place, and they can just put water in this tray then. And as I've told you before, these myrtles can't get watered enough, so I'm not worried about them standing in water. That'll be just fine. So I am just gonna nestle them all together in here, and then let's see what else is going on. So one of the hazards of gardening in the wind is that sometimes you swallow a bug or you swallow something. And I about choked on that last segment, so I had to take a little break and go inside and get some raspberry tea. So if I start coughing again, you'll know why. So I've got all these guys over here now in this tray, and I've got another tray here. I may, if I have any spare time before I leave, I might play with them a little bit more. But I thought I'd share with you just how much stuff has grown even in the past 2 weeks, maybe since we did a walkabout here in the backyard. I think it's been maybe a little while, but stuff has just really grown. And let me point out some of it and show you how it is really starting to do what I had hoped it would do. And that is, as I've said many, many times, kind of grow together in clumps, in rounded mounds. And this little coconut buddleia candy butterfly candy, is doing just that. I love the way it looks growing in with this artemisia, and the way this kind of adds softness to the boxwood balls. And these boxwood balls, some of them are Green Mountain, and these over here are Skylight Better Boxwood. And by the way, that Skylight Better Boxwood is my favorite of the 4 varieties within that line, that blight resistant line to use for boxwood balls, and that's what's on my steps. So this is all filling out, and if we might want to put another before picture here, Stuart, just so people can kind of see how bare this was. I mean, and now I feel like it's very, very lush. And I guess what I love about it is part of this lushness is not only, I think, beautiful, and it carries through with the aesthetic I had in mind, but also it is providing living mulch, so things don't dry out quite as quickly. And a lot of you have asked about my watering system, and I do have drip irrigation through here. And unlike in the front, I do have a little bit more drip irrigation that goes into some of my pots and my standing planters. So I love this kind of touch of gray. Maybe back here is where I need to transplant that lamb's ear, because I have decided to move it from the front. This is really fun because this is new to me. This is Salvia argentea, I believe, and these were 2 little tiny babies that my friend Carolina Elizabeth, I think these came from her, gifted to me. And we'll put a picture right here, Stuart, of what it looks like when it's in bloom, but it blooms in this kind of fluffy kind of romantic white. And I've got a blob of it here. I think that's the official horticultural term. I've got a blob of it there, and I've got a blob of it over here that's growing by this red blooming silver. Yeah.
Green with the white
Yeah.
fur.
Yeah. Yeah, the texture, it looks it's very reminiscent of that lamb's ear. So while I'm down here, I can pick some weeds. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was the use of garden ornament back here, because I knew that I would want to use some of the things that I have had in my inventory, and I'm going to kind of show you where I keep that inventory. But many, many years ago, I got a bunch of these round cages, if you will. You even remember the history. Boy, this is going back like 20 years, Stuart. These round cages that are now providing support ultimately for these dahlias, these Atica dahlias that I've got one there, one here, one there, one there, and they are all surrounding those dahlias, which will get very large, and these will support them. Now, these were my inspiration for something similar that I've got up front that we can take a picture of and put it right here, Stuart, that I had in my QVC line, and I think they've all sold out, and I'm kind of phasing out just for supply issues. It was just too difficult to maintain that QVC line. But I still have these, and these were the initial inspiration. I still like them, and all of those came in a stack of, and they were like 50 cents. And they look like they're wrought iron, but they are plastic.
They really do look metal though.
Yeah. So for any of you that have followed me for a really long period of time, you are familiar with these, and you know that was their provenance. That's where they came from. So I think they look good. I do have them staked down right here with some stakes, metal stakes, so they don't blow away, and that it also gives them a little bit more support. And then surrounding them, I have some zinnias. The Little Miss Figgies are really growing up and getting happy. One thing that I did do, I did run out of the powder that I had for budworms, and once I did, I wanted to get some Thuricide or BT spray, and that is what I have been using in my little pump sprayer, this Thuricide, and it will help deal with all of the budworms that I get in the geraniums. And this is a lot less unsightly than the other. I wanted to use up the other first. So I'm having to regularly spray in the front in my window box and back here with this Thuricide, and I am careful about it. I won't be doing it on a day like today, Stuart, where we've got 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts.
No way.
But it is working brilliantly, and after all of the rain we had, a lot of the geraniums, those blooms kind of just like rotted after all of the rain. But look over here, Stuart, with lots of bloom, Espoma bloom, which I've been using in my hose end sprayer. I've got all sorts of buds now, and these are the ones that I've been protecting from budworms with that Thuricide. So look at all these blooms.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
All these buds. And hopefully, I don't know, pretty soon it may be getting too hot, and that may slow them down. But for right now, they're blooming all right. I need to do a little bit of deadheading here. And here, this is my question of the day. If you grow geraniums and you love them like I do you do this? So you have a bloom, and some of the buds,
I love those questions.
some of the buds are still happy, and then some of them are not. And so you just pull out the ones that are not to leave the rest of them intact so that it continues to look like a fresh stand. A fresh flower pot of geraniums. So I'll be curious if you guys do that too. And this is happy, this is the kind of happy, I started to say piddling, but I could hear my friends in the UK laughing. This is happy puttering for me when I come out and I do this kind of thing in the morning. And for the first time, I'm going to wax nostalgic just a little bit, Stuart.
Do it.
And you can just show some pretty images of the back while I talk. This week marks exactly a year and a half since we moved into the cottage. And for the first time, it's made me a little bit nostalgic for my backyard. I think primarily my backyard at the other house, at the fairy tale house. I think primarily because my son Johnny and his bride Delphia are here this week. And Johnny told me that he drove by the old house a couple of times, and he said it did make him a little sad that he just wasn't able to just walk up to the door and walk right in. And so that made me a little bit sentimental too, and I've been, I think, remarkably unsentimental about it. But I think that this might be a good spot, Stuart, right here. Let's put in some pictures from the old backyard of what the old house, the potager, some of the hydrangeas and things in the old house. I hear it's dramatically different right now, and that's fine. It meets the new owner's needs. But this might be a good place to go down memory lane and put in some of those pictures for those of you that haven't seen it before or that are missing it. So on this 18-month anniversary, I've really been reflecting on how different this backyard is from the former backyard. And I have to say that all in all, what the biggest difference is for me is that I find this backyard far more relaxing than my other backyard. Probably because it's smaller. Probably because, unlike the other backyard, I actually sit back here. I actually come out here and work sometimes. We entertain quite a bit out here, but I actually find myself coming out here and relaxing in the cool of the morning with my coffee. And while there's plenty to keep me occupied here in the way of deadheading and bug assessment and pest assessment and topiary work, I can relax out here because there's not as much to do, and I can keep it up to my standards of perfection much easier than my other backyard. And so I'm not constantly compelled to be up and doing something.
And if they don't get it, if they just saw the old backyard, it should make sense.
Yeah, I'm not constantly worried about the encroaching trumpet vine, wisteria, Virginia creeper that was constantly coming over the fence. And some of those other kinds of issues that I was dealing with on a regular basis. I don't have to worry about that here. I can just putter back here and I can enjoy it. I can harvest from my raised beds without even having to bend over into the potager. And every time I would bend over into the potager, I think, oh, is it time for another boxwood prune? So here I can just harvest what I need. It has more than enough for Hubs and myself. I've got peppers, jalapeno peppers here. I think we're getting ready to make maybe a Mexican pasta salad to bring to our neighborhood picnic tonight. So I've got some there. I've got basil. I've got calendula that's growing in there. And just the fun herbs that I like to cook with, there's more than enough of them here. My neighbor Lori next door has plenty of mint for me. And so I can kind of just putter in these beds and keep them looking tidy without just tons of work. And at this stage of my life, I really like that. So I just overall, I find it so much more relaxing. And a smaller garden can do that for you. I know some of you will say that even this is not a small garden compared to some of the really tiny gardens in certain large cities or in other areas of the world. But for me, this is about a third of the size, if not a quarter of the size of my last backyard, and I love it. The other thing I love about it is that it gives me everything I need to follow my gardening interests. So I've got room for my topiaries, I've got room to entertain, I've got storage room. I love my potting area over here. I love my steps. I just am really, somebody said, oh Linda, you're always bragging. Well, it's because it's not so much bragging as it is a demonstration of my gratitude of the craftsmanship and the hard work of so many people that helped me bring this together. And I'm thrilled with that. The Annabelles are doing their thing.
Well
the Ajuga's doing its thing. Some of you, I guess, didn't like the brick with the holes in it. I love the texture it gives it and the way it kind of differentiates it from the other patio. It really does. And if I want to set up Hub's hammock, or if he wants to set it up, all we have to do is just move. Yes, you can see the hammock stand. In fact, we'll go back there. All we have to do is just kind of move this furniture out of the way and it fits just fine. So I know you have heard some of these things before, but we have a whole lot of new followers, and I think it's important to kind of share how you make a place work and you bend it into service for you. So here's my potting area, and then we haven't shown this space for a while, Stuart, and I think I'm going to. Now, granted, it still needs some work. I've got some, just some straightening up and things to do, probably getting ready of a few more garden ornaments. But if you can follow me back here, Stuart, this turned out to be a nice place for Hub's hammock stand. I still can easily access my tubs that have my gravel and my potting soil in them. And do you recognize?
Cool stand,
yeah, you recognize that cool stand? It came from Stuart's garage. And then in this little recess back here, I've got space where I can,
not even know this was here.
yeah, that I can store these things. And the other thing is,
It got a little windy again.
it's gotten a little windy again, yes. So, but the nice thing is that for security, this is gated off here and on that end, and I can lock it up and secure it to keep people from coming back into this storage area. Now, I do want to show you one thing, because this turned out, and like I say, I need to straighten up all of this. Here's the rest of my supports.
You do have a lot of them.
I know I do. But this turned out to be the perfect solution for this olive pot. That is one thing I brought from the other house. If one of the pictures has it in it, it's probably in the circle of the potager.
Okay.
But I love it here because this is my window, one of my kitchen windows. And when I look out, I see this. And at Christmas time, I could put lights on this. And this is just a Utopia U, an evergreen that can be here year round and that will grow in some shade. So that's perfect for over here. And then these were something that I thrifted. And I've got these thrifted candle holders, and I can put solar operated columnar candles on these, so I can look out my window and see those here. I might put little pumpkins on them at Halloween, but it's just kind of fun. I could fill them up with birdseed even if I wanted to. I think they're just kind of fun. And then up here in the distance, you can see my seeding troughs. And right here, I am getting ready to put, and I'll show it to you because some of you said you wanted to see my garage, and I'm going to reveal my garage to you today. So this is where I am going to have my propagation trough for where I am taking cuttings of boxwood, of myrtle topiaries, really of just about anything. It's here, it's very close to the hose. This area gets some sun, but it's rather shady, and I think it will be a great area for things that don't want to be stressed as they're putting out a root zone. So come on in. For those of you who have been wanting to know what was in this little outbuilding, this is our tiny little garage. That goes out into an alley. For those of you that wondered, where do we park our cars, where do we whatever, we access our alley, our trash and everything from here. And it makes it pretty easy for me to use my little works blower and blow the leaves out of the garage. Now, one thing I just bought, I had it at my other house and I got it for here. I just haven't installed it yet. And I got one of these garage door threshold seals that you can put at the base of your garage door, and it will prevent a lot of the leaves and stuff. Yeah, a lot of the leaves and stuff from blowing in. And I will, I'll install that now that we've kind of got the garage cleaned out. We've got, normally a lot of this stuff is hung, but we have our picnic chairs out to go to the neighborhood picnic tonight. We've got a charging station for batteries and things over there. Typically, I am the only one that parks in here. I park Dot in here because she fits in here. In a pinch, yes, my husband can park his car in here too, but his has a big bike stand on the back, so it's a little bit too long. But this has worked out pretty well for us. I don't need a ton of outdoor storage, and so this works. My Hubs can keep his ruckus out here, his e-bike, and I've got more of this kind of thing stored out here. Yeah, everybody needs it. So it's got an automatic garage door opener. Probably when we bought this house, and you guys can understand this.
Those stands you're talking about.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, these are the ones I was talking about earlier. That are in the front yard. But probably the biggest reservation we had about moving into the cottage, as I reflect back on it, was the fact that it is a cottage on a hill. And so you do in some way, you have to get up to the top of the hill to get inside. So when we first bought the cottage, these were very, very steep, short steps. So we relayed new steps here, so they are much more shallow. The tread is not nearly as high. We did make sure that we talked with people beforehand in case we ever have to put in a wheelchair ramp or something. We took that into consideration and where we could get that in. So for us, this has it's just worked out pretty well. And it's for a garage, it's not too messy. But it is an old 1920s, 1930s garage. Can you imagine the old Model Ts that used to park in here? Some of the really old, really old cars. It's updated now with a garage door opener. But anyhow, it's kind of fun. There's a couple more things that I want to do back here, but nothing really major. Probably the most significant thing is that I'm going to put an awning, I've mentioned it before, over the back door. And I've got another question for you. Do I want to do, and maybe or maybe not, we won't make any promises, but I might put up a couple sample pictures of what I'm looking at. Do I want to do kind of a half dome like I had at my other house, Stuart? In one of the old pictures we put up, we might put up that half dome. Or do I want it to just come straight out? And that's the direction I'm leaning, where it just comes straight out and has some metal bars. so that I can stand here then when it rains and have a little bit of coverage. I also think it will just kind of fill this wall because this wall is kind of large and blank. So that's one thing I'm thinking about. And so I want your opinion on that. Should I get a half dome or should I get one that comes out straight? Both I think would be appropriate for this area. And then my other question is, I've thought about putting one over this too, and it might give a little bit of shade to what is growing in this box, and it might also kind of complete that a little bit. So if you guys have strong opinions on that, or just whether they're strong or not, just kind of let me know. But I think it could kind of coordinate things to have one here that matched over there. And when I get back from Scotland, that's something that I'm going to be visiting with someone about, somebody local, to see what I want to do. And I just looked in there and it looks like I don't have a shirt on, but I do. I've got a camisole under this.
I think it was, you could tell that the whole time, or I thought about saying something, but I think it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
At least they know now.
Yeah, at least you know now, because I'm sure somebody will comment on it. So something else that I'll be doing before we leave, I'll be taking in all of the pillows. I'll definitely have the umbrellas down because it's been very, very windy. The other thing that I will do is any of my plants that are in light that's pretty strong, like some of these ferns over here, I'll probably move those fern pots to a place that's a little bit more shady so that if they miss a watering or something like that, it won't be catastrophic. And I need to get those Shasta daisies in the ground. So those are just a few things that I'm reflecting on 18 months later. Again, there was nothing back here, and it has pretty much exceeded my expectations, and I couldn't be more grateful to all of the people who made this happen. So there you go. There's kind of a little bit of a nostalgic Wednesday walkabout. You guys enjoy your day.